Mustafa, thank you for joining. I'm so excited to talk to you today, man. For everyone who doesn't know you real quick, Mustafa Alabdullah, you're based in Canada, in Toronto area, if I got that correct, right?
Yes, yeah.
Could you introduce yourself, like your background and what you do right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm running an agency called Ebda. It means creativity in Arabic, my mother language. And we basically build Webflow sites. We do redesigns. We do conversion rate optimization and unlimited Webflow development for agencies and worldwide. Basically, mostly we work in the US, but we have clients from the Middle East and Europe as well.
Yep.
That's basically what we do, yeah.
So you're working on all the time zones these days?
These days, yeah, but mostly I adjusted my time in a way that works with clients from different parts. Usually I stay, sometimes we have meetings around 8 p.m., 9 p.m., but I adjusted my time to work that way, and it works. So, and also I have employees in Europe as well. I have one employee in Spain, so her time zone is different than our time zone, but we found a way to work, and this is the future of work, so it works really well for us.
It is the future of work these days, actually.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into your company real quick, what's your background and how did you kind of get to where you are today?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I started as a front-end developer as my first career. I fell in love with HTML, CSS, took a boot camp, and then I started doing it for a startup. And then as I was doing there, a startup environment, they ask you are the UI guy, we want you to do some design work for us. So I started reading some books about design. And then I fell in love with UX, and I saw it goes hand in hand with front-end development. So I took a boot camp in UX design as well. And then I worked for another software company, and we started doing WordPress. So that's where I started getting into websites, from basically web apps and apps. And I found WordPress to be a little bit confusing. It was really hard to maintain things, a lot of plugins, and it was slow to load, and it takes so much time to build. So I asked myself, there should be a better way. So I started searching online, and that's what I found, Webflow. So, and then I started doing it because it's also a visual builder, and so you can do basically design. Obviously, you don't design in Webflow, but it's easy to basically make design decisions and develop things in Webflow, and it was fully customizable. So I did it full time, and then I started my agency. I said, I'm just going to do it full time, and that's where Ebda started as an agency.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had the WordPress background before, because I myself did the same thing, and you mentioned design being so easy with Webflow. With WordPress, you probably ran into the same problems where you would get like a file and you go, I think I can do most of this, but we're going to have to scrap a few of these things, or you have to find a plugin or something to make it work.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with SEO, you need Yoast SEO. I remember Yoast SEO, which is built in Webflow right now, so we don't need to worry about that. And then we had to use Elementor back then, and there were so many issues. Like there was a conflict with other plugins, and I need to call the PHP developer. And once we switch to Webflow, we don't need any of that. And what I like is, because I'm really into design and really making things beautiful and interactive, I was a little bit limited before with WordPress. And custom code, obviously, I did React and HTML, CSS custom code, but also that takes a lot of time, and maintenance takes so much time. But also, once we hand over to the clients, they always need us. So they come back to us for any design change. With Webflow, it just made it so much easier. If you need to change the button, we can do it in one minute, instead of spending like an hour looking through the code and trying to find where to change the colors.
Maybe let's start there before we go into Ebda and the projects you're working on. Webflow inherently is native to kind of a lot of the work you do. And the benefits of it, I know, like we just described, there's a lot you can do from a visual editor standpoint, or getting a design file from Figma or XD and turning it into a responsive to site that works well. But what other like native parts of Webflow did you like take advantage, I guess, of in comparison to WordPress and other platforms? Is there anything that's like naturally built into Webflow that you think is like something that people look over?
Yeah, I think one of the main things is I think it's not only the way you build things in Webflow, but like how you can maintain the website. It just makes it so much easier. But also, even if you want to implement something in Webflow Designer, you can see all the changes right away inside the designer. So you don't need to have like two screens, one for, let's say, changing the code and making the edits, and one to see the results. You can basically see both of them. But also, Webflow allows you to look at the responsiveness on the same page. So you have like desktop, tablet or mobile horizontal and mobile screens. So you can easily navigate on the same page and see how it is. And also accessibility. So for example, you can check the contrast of the colors and anything like that, or even people with impaired vision, you can see it on the page and it will basically throw an error or gives you like a red flag here, this is not accessible. So you don't need to like have a plugin to tell you what things are accessible or not. It's all built in on the same page. So
I didn't know that.
Basically, yeah. We usually test that, and I see a lot of errors. For example, like let's say a font size is too small, it will tell you it's too small. I'm not sure if it tells you that, but usually the colors, it will tell you like there is not enough contrast between the color here. And you can use like different disabilities, and you can see what things you can change. Like even colorblind. If you're colorblind, you can see the website and how people with colorblind can see it and make the adjustments right on the designer. So that's the beauty of it. Yeah, that's one thing. The second thing is not only the efficiency of building the website, which is 10 times faster, but also like the code that is generated by Webflow is much cleaner than the code that is generated in WordPress. So that obviously impact the speed, the cleanliness of the website. And also, I think that's the main things. But also the ease of use of the CMS, you can connect the content management system really easily on the web on the Webflow side with the design. With WordPress, that was a little bit of a lot of work, more work for sure. Yeah.
And Webflow also allows different user permissions and roles, right? So you can have a contributor versus an admin, those types of things.
Yeah, they've been making a lot of progress now. You can have a guest editor, you can have an editor, guest designer. So I'm a guest designer with a lot of companies, so I just go there and make changes whenever they need. Yeah, so that's another thing you can do. And you can collaborate basically kind of like GitHub now. So you can have branches, you create a branch, and then two designers can work on the same environment and then push the changes.
Yeah, that two things you mentioned there. The first being the code, and like it seems like there's less bloat. I've noticed the same thing with Webflow projects that, as far as SEO goes, Google seems to really like Webflow. It just maybe, I don't know if it's a hunch, but it seems like it's rewarding the fast loading site, which we know to be something that they're supposed to value, but naturally it looks like Webflow already does that. And then the user permission thing has been really handy for projects where, full disclosure, we've worked with you before, and, I'm able to say to certain writers, hey, I would love to add you to this so you can go ahead and create new posts and things like that. But they're not necessarily going to ever go in there and be able to accidentally click or change something on the site that's going to break it or change the design, right? So it's been really handy to have for Webflow. But maybe that's... go ahead.
No, so go ahead.
I was going to say, maybe that's where I go next, is like, what are some of the use cases and what are the types of projects that you're using Webflow for right now, Ebda?
Currently, I think besides e-commerce, which is, I think, the downside of Webflow now, it's not really robust like the way Shopify is, for example.
Right.
It's really customizable, but it's not really that scalable for now. Hopefully in future, Webflow will work on that. But other than that, website redesigns, any type of websites we've been working on, it's been really handy. And we've been working on that. We've been building blogs, a lot of blogs with it. Currently, we started doing programmatic SEO, which is, publishing thousands, hundreds of thousands of pages within like weeks instead of spending months. And thanks to a lot of tools that you can integrate with Webflow, like WellSync and Airtable. So that's another thing that Webflow makes really easy, automation. So you can automate the workflow, and then you can sync to different, softwares with Webflow and publish them really fast.
Right, all the integrations that they offer.
Yeah, all the integrations that they offer, whether email marketings or, as I said, like the programmatic pages. So now I'm getting a lot of requests for programmatic pages, and it works really well. It's really, really smooth, and this happened just the last couple of months, I would say.
Yeah. Are the programmatic pages, for those who know Webflow, are they built as collections, or are they kind of a separate type of page on the site?
Yeah, so I'm briefly going to explain it. So you have Webflow CMS, and then you have Airtable, which is really easy to maintain and the content. And then you have the WellSync, which connects the two. WellSync is similar to Zapier, if people use Zapier, which connects two softwares together. And then in Airtable, when, for example, you add something, top 10, let's say, cities to visit, and then you can basically integrate it into the CMS, and it will automatically pull that data. And anywhere that, for example, H1, H2, H3 is mentioned, why you should visit, let's say, New York, top 10 bars in New York, and everything, like the cities are dynamic and everything else is static. So you don't need to build everything from scratch. It's already or static in the Webflow collections, and then anything dynamic, you can basically configure it with Airtable, and it will be two synced, and you can publish it with one click. That's another thing which is great with Webflow, which is you can publish with one click only. So you have the staging environment and the production, and with one click, you can publish anything that goes live.
Yeah, you can make sure bubble checks, and you can essentially push it to prod. Yeah. With the programmatic SEO approach, are you able to do any overrides, like have certain pages within a given template be customized versus just all be the same exact template?
Not that much because of the limitation with Webflow CMS collection. So once you have a collection, it will create a template for that.
Right.
And you can customize a part of it. You say, I want to show or hide a certain part of this page, but the URL of that collection will stay the same, and that's a limitation. And also, you have a limitation with how you want to customize the design. But obviously, you can hide and view some part of the page for sure. Yeah.
One thing I want to call out too that we've been working with you on, I'm really proud of these days, are the content hubs that we've been building with Webflow. I think one of the main selling points, if anyone's watching this, is that you don't really have to bother your engineering team to get it launched. You really need like 5 minutes of their time, because you just kind of tell them, hey, I just need you to point this subfolder over to this DNS and A record, and then Webflow does the rest. And so when we work with you on these projects, we're able to just kind of shortcut all the sprints and timelines that are holding up other projects or changes. It feels like a cheat code almost, where we're able to get something live so quickly and then start to drive results.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. Honestly, like we've launched, I don't know, just me and you, we published a lot of blogs in the past, but overall, like published over, I don't know, maybe 100. I don't know the number.
Wow, yeah.
And I never receive requests from people or like issues from the previous clients of something that they want to fix. Usually they reach out to me if they want to build on top of what they have, but they never reach out to say, oh, there is a bug here and we need to fix it. So once we launch it, everything goes really smooth, and it's really awesome that we can do that with Webflow.
One thing I'm guilty of is not sharing the results with you probably as much as I should, but there's some projects we've done where the results are incredible. Like the content hubs have just been taking off.
Oh, okay, yeah. Please share.
No, I will. I'll share. Yeah, and actually, we're on our LinkedIn. We're going to kind of share a few of them with the blurred out logos. But like awesome. The content hub, for some reason, I think it's a combination of Webflow's being valued by Google for its speed and cleanliness on the code. But like when we're doing research for what to post, we're doing all of our regular keyword research and SEO research in terms of like the topic clusters and what we would like to write about. But it makes it so easy to publish fast with Webflow and just start producing or getting the wheel spinning, that it's hard for Google to ignore that there's just custom content that we're writing all coming in at once, right? And it's starting to become more and more authoritative on a given subject. And so like I think a lot of SEO dreams go to die when they can't publish at the pace they would like to. And Webflow kind of unlocks that for us, which is like one of the biggest use cases, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And also, one thing I like about Webflow is like having the title tag, meta description, article schemas, and all of this within Webflow Designer as well. So you can see what things you're missing and just adding them there, which I think has an impact on click-through or the SEO in general.
Right.
So, yeah.
What about
FAQ
what about for A/B testing or any conversion rate optimization? Have you used Webflow for any of those? And if so, like kind of like what are those use cases?
Yeah, so before we used Google Optimizer, and now I think we are using, we haven't used it for now because Google Optimizer, I think, is not supporting, or Google is not supporting Google Optimizer in the coming years.
Yeah.
But basically, we can basically have a landing pages. This is something that we do a lot, which building a landing page for a specific user. And then we create the content for that user, and then we build the design for that. And then we send the users 50% of them to one and the 50% to the other one, and we test how they both performing. And Google Optimizer makes it like takes 5 minutes to really launch that and see the results. There is a new tool that my developers are using, but I forgot the name of it. I'm trying to remember it. But it's also replacing Google Optimizer, and we tested it just last week on one client, and we had like just a button that we changed the button from join the waitlist to, or actually from contact us to join the waitlist, and we've seen increase in the conversion, which is really surprising. So we've done that one. So basically, you can just basically add a button or something like that, really minimal things, and you still see the improvement. So if you have like, for example, a SaaS company or something like that, and you want to see how people are interacting with your website, you can run A/B testing and see which one is performing better, and then you keep doing that basically.
Right. And so the advantage of doing Webflow for your split testing is that you can easily duplicate a page, and then there you are. You can easily duplicate a page, and then, like you said, you can hide certain sections or show sections or make those little tweaks on the CTA or whatever, and have the two URLs that you can pair with any A/B testing tool, essentially, because it makes it easier.
Yeah, exactly. So, with A/B testing, we can do that. Sometimes we even play with the messaging, for example, just the heading H1 on one page and H1 on the second page, and we run the A/B testing and see which one performs better.
Yeah, we do the same. We've done some really cool messaging tests recently. One of our favorites right now is a problem statement approach to testing. So it's telling someone like what they typically can't do, but how your service or product enables them to do that. And sometimes it might sound negative, but it works really well because people rather avoid and like they'll relate to the problem and they'll be like, I don't want to do that. And then this thing's telling you that it's no longer going to be a problem, and it converts really well.
That's another use case.
Besides testing in the hubs that we've talked about, have you used Webflow to build a complete site for any brands in the past?
This is something that we do, and basically we take it from content strategy. So one thing that I see a lot of clients reach out to us, ask us is if we want to design a website, but they don't have the content, and they expect to, first to start with the web design and then go to the content. And I always advise them to start with the content, the copy of the page, who your users are, and how you want to reach out to them, and what do you want them to do. And then based on that, we start doing the wireframe, and then we do the sitemap, and then we do the high fidelity design in Figma, and then we build it in Webflow. And then once we do that, we launch the website for them. So basically end to end from content strategy to website launch in Webflow. We've done that with a lot of clients in the past, and we have a few clients right now we're doing it. I think the most important thing is just to have the branding in place, and then the content, and then you can basically put it together and create the pages based on how many, who's your client is, and how you want to reach out to them. Yeah.
Gotcha. You mentioned sitemaps. Did that whole XML sitemap auto link thing ever get resolved by Webflow, or is it still an issue?
Oh, the sitemap. I don't think for reverse proxy, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's an easy way to do it for now. Yeah, we still haven't found a way. We found a way to do it, but with
Yeah.
clients. But yeah, there is no straightforward way to do it still.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The reverse proxy, for those who don't know, also is kind of how we build those hubs, right? So it's the whole you're essentially sending a request over to the Webflow servers when a client tries to load a certain URL. Also, the cool thing with Webflow is that you can put your custom domain on Webflow, right, and then point it to that. So you don't necessarily, when you first sign up for Webflow, you think, "Oh, am I going to have a Webflow subdomain?" And you just, when you choose custom domain, you can just make it look however you want. And I've used it for personal projects and blogs myself. I just think it's so nice and easy to use for anyone, really.
Yeah, and you can share with a client and see how what they think of it, and then before you launch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about your as a business owner now with EBDA? What are some of the things like, the highs and the lows? Like, what have you been experiencing as a business owner over there?
I think the main thing with as a Webflow business owner is educating people on the benefits of Webflow, because we receive clients and they usually ask for, what if we want to go with WordPress or Squarespace or any other website builder.
Right.
That's the biggest challenge, is educating people on what Webflow is and why is it so much better solution than any other website builders. But other than that, it's been great. It's awesome. We've been getting a lot of requests for Webflow recently, so it seems like a lot of people are switching. So site migration is big right now. And obviously that comes with risk of SEO. So we found ways to optimize and launch the websites in a way that you don't lose the traffic that you had in the past on WordPress. So we have like a benchmark of a step-by-step check mark, and we go through it and make sure that we set up the 3-on-1 redirects and export all the blogs from WordPress and import them into Webflow or any other website builder, or if you have like a headless CMS. And that's big now, the site migration.
Yeah. You mentioned Squarespace. Is that one of the more popular platforms people are migrating away from, or what are the ones you're noticing?
WordPress and Squarespace, especially people, businesses that are trying to scale their business, and they started as Squarespace and now they want to migrate and basically build new pages or launch more blogs. So I don't think Squarespace is the ideal solution, so they switched to Webflow.
Squarespace was notoriously bad for SEO for a while there. And the funny thing is they used to sell it as like one of the best. But there was so many like things that just didn't make sense. Like canonical tags, if you've ever had to deal with those, like in Squarespace, it was almost impossible to get those to ever be correct. They always had this like weird thing with like a trail slash versus non-trail slash. And I just noticed the same thing when we would migrate people away from Squarespace. It was like, hey, so just so you know, we're going to move you over to this proper formatting of things, but we're going to have to do some redirects here because Squarespace essentially jacked up a lot of the pages on your site.
I've never used it before, but and I hope I will never have to use it.
I don't think you will. I think you got yourself a pretty good setup going right now.
Yeah. It's hot. It's hot here in Colombia. I'm right by the beach, so I don't know if you notice I'm sweating.
Oh, you're in Colombia right now. I forgot.
Yeah.
Are you in Medellin?
No, I'm in Cartagena right now, and I was on the beach, so I came down at home, and I'm like, oh my god, it's so hot, and there's no AC here.
Yeah. All good. Yeah, actually, tell me about that meeting that you had with other Webflow people down in Medellin. Was there anything cool that came out of that summit?
So we had a workshop. We just, went through how they do business, what are the weaknesses they have, what are the weaknesses I have, and then we found like ways to collaborate. Basically, mostly we discussed. We had people from SEO, was really great. So they gave us some advices on how we can approach SEO and Webflow. We discussed programmatic SEO because they are also working on that part as well. So. Yeah, it was great, and we talked about Medellin. I think Colombia is amazing. So if you are a Webflow developer remote or any kind of remote job, I think Medellin is definitely the place you want to go. Yeah, we went to a WeWork space. It was fun. It was really fun. We missed
That's
you.
awesome. What's that?
We missed you. I think you should definitely visit. You should definitely.
I would love to go down there. I've never been down to Colombia or Venezuela or any of those South American countries.
It's really awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, it might not be safe," but I don't think that's right.
No, I don't either. Especially after working with so many people from those countries, they just speak of it so highly that it sounds like a place to go.
Yeah, it was a right decision. Currently, I'm in Cartagena, but it's too hot. So if you're not a big fan of like super hot place, don't come to Cartagena.
Well, before we go, I just want to know: is there any wisdom you would impart on anyone that's thinking about going with Webflow or starting a new project? Anything that you would kind of sign off with?
I think the first thing is if you want to building a website, starting with Webflow is no-brainer. Definitely, you don't want to choose something like WordPress, which is going to give you a lot of headache, and you're going to spend more money on it. So Webflow is the solution. And if you're building a website in Webflow, make sure that you obviously start with the content and the type of pages you want. If you want, reach out to someone who has experience with website building so they can give you, they build a strategy for you. Here's the pages that you need, here's the services that you want to showcase or the product you have. And then once you have that, you start with designing it and then build it in Webflow. It will save you a lot of time. But yeah, that's pretty much my advice.
Well, that's good advice. Yeah. And people, I'll make sure in the description they know where to reach out to you or me to kind of help them with any of those projects, hopefully.
Absolutely. Happy to help.
All right, Mustafa. Hey, thank you for your time today. Hopefully you don't sweat it out too much more out there in Cartagena and get back to Toronto.
I'm going to the beach right now, so
okay, enjoy.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, man. Take care.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.